Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. If you have a gardening question you'd like our host Fred Howard to answer, send him an email. The email address is fred@planttalkradio.com. Now for today's question.
We have a very nice, dense yard. We get African wild violets, I guess I would call them, a dark green broadleaf violet plant, and the lawn care company claims that they are hard to kill. So these keep multiplying. You'll get like a little clump of flowers, and then, I mow, so we don't get the flowers, but we just keep getting more and more, and they're not really, don't seem to be able to contend with them. I guess the standard broadleaf weed killers won't do it. I just, for funsies, I put some Roundup on them, and that eliminates them fine. Of course, you got to be careful with that. But are there things that should be done, or what can be done, and why can't they kill them? Creeping Charlie's another thing. That's a little easier to manage, but it's a viney type weed, but the violets just keep multiplying. They don't seem to be able to.
So, Fred, you want me to handle this?
Yes, please do, because I was going to ask you the same thing.
Okay. You're right that the standard weed controls typically don't do a good job on the on wild violets, and Creeping Charlie is one that's also maybe a little more difficult to control, although those weed controls will work if the timing is right. Ortho does have a weed control that does a real good job on wild violets without hurting your good grass, and so that would be a better choice than using the Roundup. It's not a widely sold weed control, so it's kind of a specialty product called Ortho Weed Begone Chickweed and Clover Killer. And it uses a different active ingredient than any of the other weed controls for a lawn. It doesn't come already ready mixed. It comes in just one size, and you end up needing to mix it up and then spraying it, and it'll take those wild violets out without hurting your good grass, as well as the Creeping Charlie. And it's called Weed Begone Chickweed and Clover Killer, and it does a pretty good job on the wild violets.
They are a bear to get rid of.
Well, it's one of those things that some of the listeners might be wondering, why would you want to kill violets? And sometimes they're in a shaded part of the lawn, and maybe the grass is a little weaker because of being less sunlight. But and so sometimes you say, well, gosh, I think they look nice. Some of them have purple blooms, some of them have white blooms. But definitely you can take them out with the Ortho Weed Begone Chickweed and Clover Killer.
I think Don was asking, too, is this something he does in the spring or now, or when do you do that?
Actually, it can be done now in the fall. It can also be done in the spring. So I would give them a good shot right now in the fall. And it works real well with the Ortho dial-in spray that you hook to your hose. Okay. And the way you would spray that is you would go to the farthest part of the lawn away from your hose, and then you start spraying, working backwards towards the where the hose is connected to the house. And then that way you're not dragging the hose over top of the areas that you've just sprayed. And it does a real good job. I've used that product, and it takes out clover very well. It takes out, it's about 25 weeds on the label, and wild violets is one of them.
Hey, thanks again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our other podcasts as well, the Plant of the Week podcast and the Plant Talk Radio podcast, all on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to sponsor a daily podcast, contact us at fred@planttalkradio.com. To find out more about Fred Howard and Plant Talk Radio, visit our website, planttalkradio.com.
Circle270media.com